What's going on, everybody? Austin Ariel back here again, and today we have another special car. This one in particular is a 2015 Corvette. This thing has only 6,000 miles, a little over, about 6,400 miles on it. And I'm going to tell you why this is a bargain of a sports car. So a little history on the Corvette. So this is the C7 chassis, as it is known, or generation as a lot of people have come to know it. This was a big step forward for Corvette. For one, interior quality improved dramatically. You had powertrain quality that improved dramatically. Everything about the Corvette brought it up a notch, all right? This was the first Corvette, in my opinion, that brought it to the world of Grand Tours versus all-out sports cars. This thing packs a 6.2 liter V8, of course an LS motor. It's got a good 455 horsepower, 460 foot-pounds of torque. With that, this thing could rocket to 60 miles an hour. Independent tests have got it down to 3.8 seconds for a car from America, okay? So with all bald eagles and all American flags flying, this thing was a incredibly fast car. Obviously, looks are subjective. I think this thing looks fantastic. I personally love it more than the C8 Corvette, if you don't mind me saying that, because a lot of people don't like that. In this example, in this graphite gray with these black wheels, I think this looks amazing. This car is actually for sale here at Carriage Key of Woodstock, here in Woodstock, Georgia. I do want to thank them for letting me take a look at this Corvette, letting me review it, and letting me drive it, because this is a rare pre-owned Corvette in the sense of low mileage. It's got quite a bit of options on it, everything from a heads-up display to heated cooled seats. This thing is amazing, and I do wholeheartedly think it is a wonderful sports car. It's incredibly fast, comfortable, but we're going to take a bigger look at it, so let's do that. So let's talk front end. So this continues the tradition of front engine Corvettes now that the C8 is mid-engined. So with this one, it pretty much modernizes the C6 chassis. You can see that with the angular headlights, you know, the hood vents, etc. Everybody knows what this chassis looks like and what this generation holds. Still have the same famous Corvette badging on the front. This one has a little bit of chrome on the front. This one's in very, very good condition. You know, I wholeheartedly think this was babied a garage queen since the time it was new. So as you can see, it does have full LED lights in the headlights. So LED indicators, LED running lights. You have LED headlights, low beams and high beams. So I mean, LED headlights everywhere. You do have big inlets here for air to that massive V8, and then of course these, which are actually real for heat extraction there. So all in all, I think it's a very handsome look, but I also think it does give it a very Grand Tour look to it. I do think this Corvette looks very exotic in my opinion. It doesn't look as American as some of the older Corvettes do, and I actually think that's why I like it a lot more, because I do like European cars a lot, especially Aston Martin, Ferraris, etc. And those are the epitome of Grand Tours. I think this touches on that quite a bit, and I think they executed it really well with this generation. So I do think this generation is gonna, for one, tank in value initially because of the C8, but I think over time it's gonna flatten out and maybe even appreciate in value. So let's go over the rear end here. So this is probably where the Corvette, especially this generation, got really, really famous. So this was completely modernized, carried over the dual taillight action here, because usually they did have two circular taillights in older generations. This one kind of blocked it off a little bit, gave it a little bit more edge. They carried that into the C8, but with that they did add some of these vents here, especially for airflow throughout the car and things like that. Whether it looks good or not, you can make your own opinion. I think it gives it kind of a boy racer-ish look, so I personally don't like it too much, but a lot of people do, and that's all that matters. The car sold just fine. I do like the fact that the trim around the taillight is actually black. It looks very nice, and then the third brake light is actually a blacked out housing. I do like that. And the spoiler built into the vehicle looks really nice, and I do like that it's body matched. Another thing is obviously the quad exhaust that's actually centered. That's been a Corvette feature for the past, I don't know, 20, 30 years maybe. I do think it looks really cool in this instance. I just wish that the actual exhaust pipes were just a different shape. Not what the C8 has now, but just something to give it a little bit more of a more aggressive look. I just don't think this looks too aggressive. I think the car looks aggressive, but this looks a little soft because it's just circular. That's just me. I might be crazy. But that's what you have there. And then if you open up the hatch, so of course you can open it up with the key. So of course you have many ways to open it. I like opening it up from the key. You can see, opens up just fine. I can lift it with one finger. It's not a problem at all. But inside you don't have anything too crazy. I'll let you guys see in there real quick. Definitely nothing crazy. You have a lot of space in there, surprisingly, for a sports car. You do have that cargo cover on top, and then you do have a cargo net right there, which looks really nice. And then you see the floor mats of the car there. Interior lighting, 12-volt power outlet, nothing crazy there. But you should expect to fit maybe a bag of golf clubs or two. So it is actually fairly spacious. So let's talk doors. So this door is one of my favorite doors in the car industry because I love doors with hidden keys or with hidden buttons. This one has a hidden button. So behind it, it's an electronic release. You just press and it releases the door. Okay. And then you have the same electronic release on the inside. Really cool. I just love it. I just think it looks really cool, really sick. Close it. Really, really nice. I love it. So really well done on that one. Now let's actually step inside the Corvette, the C7 specifically. Look at that beautiful, beautiful door sill badge. I think it's gorgeous. I just wish it was illuminated, that's it. On the door pocket, of course, you got your automatic up and down windows. You do have your locks, Bose audio, of course, your electronic release for the door when you're exiting. You have memory seats to be expected. And then let's sit down here. And then you can see that beautiful screen, touch screen, all driver focused. So you see you got your heated and cooled seats, automatic AC. These are actually going to be screens. And then of course you can adjust the screen there. Electronic parking brake, drive mode select, cup holders, as you'd expect in a car of this nature. And then one thing with the seat controls, the passenger also has another set of seat controls. Isn't that crazy? So not only do they have another set of climate controls, but also seat controls. Right there. So interesting. It really is. Don't know why they did that, but they did. So without further ado, let's go ahead, start this baby up. Roars to life. You can hear it. Of course, you got everything that you need here. Tire pressure. You can see everything. Fuel used. Timer. Speed limit signs if you want to. And the windshield, you've got the heads-up display that you can see in the distance. Of course, you've got your Bluetooth audio. You do have your paddle shifters. This is an automatic. And you can see there, climate control, vent speed. And then you see climate controls over there for the passenger. Now, look at this. This, of course, is technically a Targa top. So this roof panel actually does come off, but it's also clear, and I absolutely love that. The release is right there for it. Absolutely insane. I love it. And look at this frameless mirror. Just a small detail that I think looks amazing. And then you see this navigation. Looks absolutely awesome. And of course, can't forget General Motors' famous little secret compartment there with the screen. Absolutely cool. Probably one of their coolest things. They implemented a lot of vehicles. So, and then you can't forget to rev it. Sounds amazing. So why not take this for a spin? All right, so driving this car does hit a soft spot for me because I'm gonna be honest, I've never been a General Motors fan. It's not even coming down to like reliability or anything like that. I've just never personally been a fan of their design over the years, but I will say this car does have an attractive design. I've just never been a fan of the interior design just because I didn't think they did the best they could with the car, you know. So, but I will say sitting in it and actually getting to experience it can definitely change your mind, you know. This car definitely feels upmarket, definitely feels really well put together as you'd expect from a car that's $80,000 new. So this car definitely feels amazing. So transmission feels really good. It is an 8-speed automatic. One thing I'm already noticing is the ride is extremely firm. And the throttle is very responsive. Very, very responsive. Probably more responsive than I initially thought, to be honest. Just because I feel like with all the electronic gizmos and everything with cars today, be whatever, steering is incredibly tight. Everywhere you point it, it goes. Without a shadow of doubt. Like, this car knows exactly where you want to take it, and it follows 100,000%. There is, I'm noticing, a pretty decent bit of road noise. I'm sure that's because the tires, because this thing has Pilot Sport Cup 2s, if I'm not mistaken. Definitely want to warm them up before really getting this car the beans, as they say. I'm gonna say one thing that I really don't like, and that is these paddle shifters. They're plasticky and they feel really, really low quality when you press them. I feel like they could have at least given them like aluminum shifters or something like that. These feel pretty pretty cheap. I'm not gonna lie. Other than that, it does feel like a high-end sports car in a way because you're surrounded by glass, which is very reminiscent of a lot of sports cars, but you're also extremely low, like extremely low. So that is something that if you own one of these, you'd have to get used to. Position in this car is definitely really good because it feels like you're in a cockpit. This definitely feels like you're driving a plane, you know, which is something that you'd want in a sports car. As far as room, I have a lot of room because, of course, I'm 5'9", I'm 185 pounds. I don't need that much in terms of space. That exhaust note's amazing. I love it, especially when you get a little bit of that burble in it. Oh, that sounds amazing. I love it. It sounds really, really good. Like I said, this Corvette's only got 6,400 miles on it. This thing's got low mileage, so absolutely amazing. The car literally looks, feels, smells brand new. Smells literally brand new. So, in love with this thing. So, really well done, Chevy. This car is, shoot, 5, almost 6 years old, and this thing still feels like it could be brand new, and people will be like, wow, look at what they did. Minus the gauge cluster, just because it's not fully digital. But if you updated the gauge cluster, put in a more updated infotainment system, I do truly feel like the inside of this car could compete still with modern offerings, because the materials feel really nice. The leather in here is very soft, very supple. You've got those heated seats. I mean, you've got it. Visibility out the back, not terrible, but it's definitely not good. I mean, it's a very small window hatch, as you would. Visibility out the sides, not gonna lie, it's actually pretty bad. Even with the side view mirrors, the mirrors are really tiny, obviously for aerodynamic functions. So I'm not too crazy on those. I think they're auto dimming, I could be wrong. The rear view is, but yeah, side view, not the best on this car. But I understand why they're small. I just don't think I enjoy how small they are. As far as luxury amenities, I mean, this thing pretty loaded out. You got a heads-up display. You've got the automatic up and down windows, the heated and cooled seats, you know, dual zone climate controls, navigation, Bose audio. I mean, it's pretty well optioned. So if you want to go for that Grand Tourer look, this thing definitely fits the bill. It really does. Nothing in here creaks or rattles. This thing is incredibly well put together. I'm thoroughly impressed with how well it's put together. So, very good job, Chevy. Mind you, this is my second time ever sitting and driving a Corvette. I drove a C7 back in 2015 when I was actually selling Hyundais, because somebody had just bought a Corvette. They actually traded it in, and I know you're like, oh, who traded in for a Hyundai? But I think, don't quote me, but I think they traded it for a Genesis, a V8 model at the time. So, sports car for a luxury sedan, luxury sports sedan, completely understandable. There's a decent amount of traffic here, so I'm actually going to see if there's a spot where I can just turn around here. There we go. Above $2,000, and it's just such a lively motor. It really is. Holy cow. It's so responsive too, and that goes in part because it's naturally aspirated, so you don't have to worry about turbos, you don't have to worry about anything but bald eagles and American flags. So this thing is amazing. Absolutely amazing. Feeling the transmission out, I've been in cars, especially M cars and things like that, which people would naturally cross shop with this car, and I will say the transmission definitely shifts decently hard. You know, it's definitely not super buttery smooth, so other cars in this segment definitely had dual clutches, which are definitely smoother, so I can understand why the C8 has a dual clutch now, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody please correct me if I'm wrong. But I can definitely see why they went away from that torque converter automatic in this case. It's definitely kind of clunky, but it shifts just fine. It's very responsive, gets you right where you want to be in terms of gear, power, etc. So no complaints there regarding time period things there. So that will conclude today's video on this C7 Corvette. Like I said, it is for sale here at Carriage Key of Woodstock. So come check this thing out if you want a super low mileage, very clean Corvette. Thank you guys for watching. And like always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will definitely release more content very soon.